the people don't tire of seeking out Jesus so that he can heal them. And I suppose Jesus doesn't get tired of making himself a bit available to heal them. That's what he came for, no? To save us. And part of that salvation is restoring people to health, even bodily health. But, however, many of the interests of these people when they go to Jesus is just like for a selfish interest. For me, give me. Looking to Jesus as the fix-it man. He will fix it for me all the time. And so they draw close to Jesus just with that, like, of a selfish interest. There are people in the church who only see the church as at their service, to serve them in the time when they feel like they need it, like they're baptized, and so later on in their life, when they're adults, so they get married in the church, if they get married, will they get married in the church, then perhaps they get their children baptized, so the church serves them to get the children baptized, later on to get their children the sacrament of Holy Communion and confirmation, and whenever there's a funeral needed, so the church will be there then to serve them in that need. But nothing other than that. There are people who just see the church as that, just punctually in these different points, just to serve them in a concrete need. And people come to God also in a sense of just when they see God as a time of need. I need this. I'm in a time of need in my illness, or in this trouble in my marriage, or in trouble at school, or in just to get me through these exams, or in this moment of need. So God is there just to help them in their needs. Jesus would love it if we are there also desiring just to be with him, for him. People, perhaps, like, for an example of this is, there are times in our faith walk where we don't feel like we want to pray, perhaps, or we don't feel like making the sacrifice of going out and going to Mass, but we do it. And in those times, Jesus is asking us to kind of exercise our faith and our love for him, not to look for what we can receive from him, not to look for the consolations from the God of consolations, but to look for consoling God and to love the God of consolations rather than the consolations that he can give. Perhaps in the time of prayer, that would be no better time to show that we love him when perhaps we're in a moment of aridity, of dryness, spiritual dryness, and even repugnance, or even full of distractions. And the last thing we want to do is to sit down in the church, or even at home, pray a rosary, or to read through the Gospels, or just to spend time in quiet time to draw close to God because of this spiritual dryness or desolation that we're going through. But then we're not doing it for ourselves. We would be doing it truly then for love of Jesus. So there are moments, the times of trial, when we persevering in our faith, being faithful to our prayer, being faithful to go into Mass, to faithful to the practice of the sacraments. We're not doing it for ourselves, but we are actually in a concrete way showing our love for God. And that is what is really pleasing to him. So we can ask, that's what the martyrs did. St. Agatha is an example of that. She who was prepared to even go to her death rather than compromise her chastity and her purity, to let herself be mutilated in body rather than to be unfaithful to Jesus. So in those times of trials is when we show more love for God than selfish interests. So we can ask the martyrs, and especially Saint Agatha in this today of her feast day, that we may love God above all things, even above our own selfish interests. Amen.